my cluttered garage. I'm really glad you're here. A place where we can laugh and talk and days are filled with cheer. The clouds of sun may come and go, but one thing's always clear. Welcome back, my friend. You know I'm really glad you're here. Yeah.
Hey, we made it. Welcome back, my friends. I am really glad you're here. I want to welcome you to live stream number 119. It is May 22nd, 2023. Happy May 22nd, and welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. I was sitting back here and I was looking at something. All of a sudden, I looked up and it was 7 o'clock. So that's why we jumped right in. I want to welcome you to the live stream. Of course, we generally are talking about tractors and gardening and projects and DIY and life in the country and all that good stuff. That's what we talk about in the live stream. It's kind of what we talk about on the channel. Of course, the produced videos are quite different than live stream, but this is a way we get together once a week, every Monday night, and just kind of hang out, read some comments in the live chat, just see where things are. But if it is your first time here, I want to welcome you. And I would ask you to please say hi in the comments and say something like, hey, it's my first time joining the live stream, and we'd like to welcome you, not only myself, but also the great number of viewers who join us each week as well. And also let me know how you found the channel in general. Did you find it on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram? Did I miss any? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? No, that's where we post videos, mostly YouTube. Followed by Facebook, and then a few things on Instagram once in a while, and a few little fun things on TikTok when we can. So let me know where you found the channel, and certainly, again, welcome you tonight. And about tonight's show, well, we kind of just, a lot of times, just kind of free roll. But tonight, as you saw in the thumbnail, we're going to talk about poison ivy, and there's a reason for that we'll be talking about poison ivy. First of all, it's poison ivy season, although poison ivy is sort of out there year round, but the leaves aren't. The vines are out there year round, but the leaves are out there now in full bloom. And you got to be careful if you're out there weed whacking or cutting anything in your gardens. The stuff is pretty prolific, and I thought it would be a good thing to talk about for a couple of reasons. Excuse me, for a couple of reasons. One is because, like I just said, it is the season for poison ivy. But the other thing is, I made a video about poison ivy. I made it 3 years ago. It was when the channel was new. I think it was video number 15 or video number 16. One of my early videos. I went out in the woods and I identified some poison ivy, talked about how I have been successful in eradicating it from areas of the property, and just did a little bit of research about poison ivy and shared it with the viewers. Now, that video, again, early on, was an early video. I thought it was pretty well done. But the first year, it took an entire year being out there, and it didn't even reach 1,000 views. So not many people saw that video in the first year. I think it was like 850 some views in that entire first year. By the second anniversary of that video, it had reached almost 5,000 views. So the first year got almost 1,000 views. The second year got almost 4,000 views. So by year 2, it had gotten almost 5,000 views, which is fine. We have some videos that get hundreds of thousands of views, other videos that get under 1,000, and it's just kind of hit or miss. Well, the strange thing happened this year. We're coming up on the 3rd anniversary of that video. I think it was put out like June 7th or so. So we're coming up on the 3rd anniversary. That video now has over 60,000 views. And for the past week, it's been getting like 7,000 views per day. So for whatever reason, people have discovered it. The algorithm has picked it up. It's been sharing it with people. And it's just taken off in a surprising way. So I've had a lot of comments on that video, a lot of new subscribers. People have been subscribing to the channel at a rate of about, well, over 20 per day, over 20 new subscribers per day coming to join us just because of that video. So again, if you're new to the channel and if you came here because of that video, I'd love to know that in the comment section in the live chat here. So I thought this is a great time to talk about it because, again, we've had lots and lots of new people join us because of that. And I think that's pretty darn interesting. So that's why we're going to talk about poison ivy. And it's a great topic. And I don't want to say I haven't grown fond of poison ivy. I hate it with a passion, but I've come to really respect it a lot. And I've learned so much about it. I can spot it very well. You know what I can't spot is sumac, poison sumac. Also, poison oak. I'm not familiar with that because I really have not had much experience with it. I need to do some research on that so I'm more aware, but I've not had problems with poison sumac, poison oak. I don't even know. I guess it exists around here, but it's never been an issue for me or anyone around me. Poison ivy, however, is very invasive, very pervasive. What's the difference between pervasive and invasive? I don't know, but it grows like mad. Um, but it is controllable, which is the good news. It's very controllable from what I've seen and what my personal experience has been here living in the northeast part of the United States of America. Hey, speaking of what a segue, the United States of America, let's remember that next Monday, May 29th, is Memorial Day. It's the day where we honor fallen veterans or fallen soldiers, military people who have lost their lives in service. So it's a somber day. It's an important day, and I would just encourage you to read up about it if you're not familiar with it. Look in your local community for Memorial Day service. We have a local one here that our good friend Margaret puts together and does a fantastic job. Margaret really does. So check out your community, either Facebook page, calendar, newspaper. See what events you can find in your town or your county. And I would really encourage you to attend one of these Memorial Day programs. They're very moving, very touching, and it's an honor to be part of those. So there's my PSA for next Monday, which brings me to next Monday. If you join us here on the live stream / podcast, Lee Clonsher, photographer and author, is joining me next Monday, and he is putting out a new book about farmall tractors, and he has published several books about motocross, motorcycles, tractors, beautiful coffee table books, a lot of good history. Check out Lee Clonsher. Search him on the internet. Search Octane Press because he is owner of Octane Press and does some really good stuff. So we're going to have Lee on here next Monday, which is the 29th, on Memorial Day. So join me there. And then a couple Mondays after that, June 12th, John Furness, the Blind Woodsman, is joining us once again. So that is exciting. I'm really excited about that. So stay tuned for that. And of course, stick around. Later, we're going to do a sticker giveaway. So that's always a fun, exciting thing. And during the conversation tonight, if you have a question, pose it in the live chat, just like you see on the screen with the word question followed by your question. So let's go to some questions and some comments right now. Let's see who's here. I love the interaction of the live chat, and I can look up whether you're watching from YouTube or Facebook. And when you make a comment in the live chat, it appears here, and I can take a look at it. So, of course, David from RCAF Polar Express, our good friend from Canada, was the first one here tonight. We have a lot of Canadian friends, and yes, I say Canada. I know that's wrong, but it's just fun to say. And of course, Ross on the Land is here. Kent from Hope Construction. John is here. Howdy, John. Good to see you. And our good friend John from A Ritter Bit Will Do. I was talking about John Link when I said howdy. See that there? John from A Ritter Bit Will Do is here with us. 80 and sunny in central Minnesota. How about that? That's about what it was here today. John, my friend John, let me thank you again publicly. Remember last week we all talked about what our favorite tractor attachment or implement is, and we were talking about rototillers and wood chippers and grapples and backhoes and all the attachments you can get for a tractor. And John said that his favorite attachment was the steering wheel spinner. Kind of jokingly said that, but he said that the steering wheel spinner was his favorite attachment. Of course, it's more of an accessory, I suppose. But John sent me one right after the show, and it arrived just a couple days later. I put it on the tractor, and I gave it a spin, and it's really useful. I haven't used it this week much because we've been out of town for a few days, but we're back, obviously, because here I am. This is not a virtual set. I'm really here. So, John, thank you again. That was very generous. Made a short little video of it, which actually was a very popular video. Got a lot more views than I would have expected, and I know that John met some new people as well who went over to his channel. But anyway, thank you for that. I do so much appreciate it, very much. So let me move along with that. If you haven't checked out A Ritter Bit Will Do, though, the channel, go check that out, especially if you have a Kubota BX tractor, because John does a lot of content with that. So there's Brutal Bob. Good to see you, Mr. Bob, as well. Twin Brooks Acres. When Work is Play is here. And our friend Chris from the Watershed Overlook. Good to see you, Chris. Jalen Outdoors, who I believe just surpassed 1,000 subscribers. Congratulations. I don't have an applaud sound effect. I think you're well past that now, but I think a couple weeks ago you did surpass that. So good to see you. All right. So here we are. We're going to talk a little bit. The night will go fast. Again, if you're new to the channel, new to the live stream, we wrap up by 8 p.m. So it's a quick little live stream that we do. And it keeps us on the edge of our seats as well. Okay. All right. So I want to talk about poison ivy, and I'm just going to jump right into it. I don't know. I'm not a poison ivy. I don't know what the word is, but I'm not a specialist on poison ivy. I did not go to an Ivy League school. Get it? But I learned about poison ivy just from battling it here. When I was a kid, my kids love that when I say that. When I was a kid, I can remember right out back here, there was a fence line and it had vines growing up the trees. And I used to play back there all the time. And once in a while, I'd get itchy. I didn't know what it was, of course, at the time. As I got older, when I got into my teens and my 20s, I decided to clear out that hedgerow, and I was cutting the poison ivy again, not knowing what it was. Cutting, I just knew it was vines, hairy vines. So I was cutting it, and I was pulling down the vines by hand, and I got poison ivy. And then I realized what it was, especially between my fingers. You know, the tender parts of your skin, obviously, maybe that's not obvious, but obviously would be more sensitive. And I would get it terribly between my fingers there. Let me mute that a second. Between my fingers was a very common area to get it, very sensitive. On my face, somebody mentioned that they're itching just watching tonight. I'm itching now just thinking about it. But you know, I would get it on my face because you rub your face when you're sweating or itching, and so I would get it around here, and very sensitive there. You know, I mean, I'm not going to get graphic or personal here, but I may have gone to the bathroom after touching poison ivy. So yes, I've had it there too, and I think anybody who's had it probably knows what I'm talking about, at least any of the male persuasion. So yes, you can get it anywhere. So my point is, through the years, I did learn to identify it. I don't know at what point. Oh, around my eyes too, you know, because you rub your eyes, and then I'd get it right around my eyes. And then what I found as years went by, and I believe this is true from research that I've done, your immunity, it's kind of opposite with poison ivy. You don't become more immune to it as time goes on. You become less immune to it. And that each time, excuse me, each time you get poison ivy, you get it worse. And that had been my experience. That, because again, as a kid, I would not really get it. And so each time I've gotten it, my body reacts and I get it worse. It's been quite a while since I've had it because I've gotten really good at identifying it. But that's something that I believe. You can't take anything I say tonight as absolute truth because it's just the research that I've done, which has not been extensive, but it's a little bit of research and a lot of bit of experience. So I get the poison ivy worse every time. But in the research I did about poison ivy, I think it's really kind of fascinating and kind of scary how strong this stuff is. Now I think about nature and like, what's the purpose of things? I think about, um, I think about like the purpose of mosquitoes. In fact, we were with the grandkids this weekend, and little Patrick said, I wish that mosquitoes. What else did he say? Oh, he said, I wish that mosquitoes and bees would go extinct. And then we had the conversation about. He's 6 years old. We had the conversation about, well, bees are important, but I'm with you with mosquitoes. I don't get it. What's the point of mosquitoes? Um, but most things seem to have a point. Poison ivy, I don't get it. What's the point? Because it's not protection for animals like a briar patch is. Briar patch, the squirrels or rabbits can run under there, and they're kind of protected because any predator would get tangled up in the briars, and that's kind of a brilliant part of nature there. Um, but I don't get the poison ivy part. First of all, I don't know if any animals at all get poison ivy, so it seems to be just humans. So I don't know if there's any purpose behind it, because again, you're not going to know for a couple of days if you even got it, so it doesn't help with anything. So I don't know. I don't know the purpose of poison ivy. Um, but what I have learned, and it's very interesting about it, is really about the oil that's in poison ivy that causes the reaction. Um, in my video, I talk about some statistics that I believe like 80% of the population reacts to poison ivy, but there is a small percentage who do not react to it. And there's an oil in and on the leaves, also in and on the vines, and it's called urushiol. Urushiol. I had to read that. Put it on the screen for you though. The oil is urushiol oil, and that is the oil that you react to. What I learned again by reading the internet is that the oil is more of a grease than it is an oil. Got a window right there. It's more of a grease than an oil. So it's important when you are initially exposed to it, you have to wash off that urushiol oil. Get it off you as soon as possible, and you can prevent yourself from reacting by getting rid of it. So here's the thing: it's like a grease. So if you think, whether you think you've been exposed to it or not, if you're out working in the garden or in any kind of weeds and stuff, maybe assume you've been exposed to it. But if you know that you've touched it or been near it, uh, you have to really scrub. You don't just go in and wash your hands. You don't just go in and take a shower. You have to imagine that take some black grease, like when you're working on your tractor, and you rub up against the top link, and you get a smudge of black grease on your arm. Well, imagine if if poison ivy oil were visible. It's clear, so you don't see it. But if poison ivy were visible, it would look like that black smudge of grease. And you know how hard it is to get that grease off. You have to use hand cleaner or something, a really strong detergent. You have to, or just soap with a washcloth and really scrub it. But imagine how hard you have to scrub that black grease to get it off. When you have it grease on your hands, how you have to scrub it to get it off. That is how the poison ivy oil is. It's like a grease. So when you wash, and thank you, John, for that comment. John Link saying that Dawn works well. Well, we know from the commercials, Dawn cuts grease. Apparently, though, that's a real thing. I don't know why Dawn is so different than anything else. But I mean, they even use Dawn for when you have oil spills and they have to clean up the geese and the birds and whatnot. So Dawn is a good grease cutter. At any rate, you have to scrub like mad to get that off. I've had some comments recently on this video I'm talking about where people have said, don't use hot water now. In my video, I said, wash with hot water, wash your clothes with hot water. I've gotten some comments that make a lot of sense to me. They say, don't wash your skin with hot water because it's going to open your pores up and that could let the oil get inside more. So they said, wash with cold water. That makes sense. But I don't like cold water. I like to wash with a little bit of warm water anyway. But the point is, you really have to scrub, and that is so important. With clothing, I suggested doing a load of wash with heavy detergent. Any clothing you were wearing when you were exposed to it, throw it in the wash. I said use hot water and use heavy detergent and wash them twice. Um, Again, some folks said don't use hot water. I don't know why you wouldn't with that, because I think the hot water would kind of break up the oil and get it out of there, and especially again wash it twice. That's really just me talking. So I don't know. That's what I think. Um, but the main thing is to wash it. Now, one of the myths are that poison ivy spreads from person to person, especially when you get those blisters. And I'm going to stick to this because I read it. I've had people challenge this in the comments, but what I read said it does not spread from person to person. When you have those blisters from poison ivy, and sometimes the blisters weep or they open up on you, um, that is not like a toxic poison ivy juice that's in there. That's your body reacting to it. Uh, and that, first of all, does not spread person to person. It also, when you itch it, people say, "Oh, don't scratch your poison ivy, you'll spread it." I believe, from what I've read, it does not spread when you scratch it. And I've had people say, "Oh, yes, I've scratched it, I've popped the blisters, and I've gotten more." I hate to keep saying from what I've read, because again, I'm not an expert in this, but I have to say, disclaimer, from what I've read, that is not true. That it does not it doesn't spread. What happens is if you had not cleaned that area, like I talked about it a minute ago, that oil still is on your skin. Even if you get the blisters on there, even if you washed it, the oil can still be on your skin. When you scratch that poison ivy, you still could be picking up that oil that's around it and spreading it to other places on your body. Um, if someone touches you, in the affected area, even if they touch a blister that broke open, they're not going to get poison ivy from that. It's not contagious that way. It's the same thing. If they touch you and they get poison ivy, it's because you had some grease or oil, your urushiol oil on your skin. They touched that and they got that. But the blisters are not contagious. So I actually found comfort in that, knowing that it's not as frightening. Because gosh, if it really did spread that way, I mean, we've all scratched poison ivy, and uh, you can't help but scratch it. So if that happened, I think we'd be covered in it. So I think that's important to know. I think the most important thing to know. I love the analogy of the grease, the black grease. That if you think of it that way, think of it as getting paint on yourself, scrubbing it. That has been the most helpful thing for me, and I've changed my habits. When I think I've been around it, I really scrub now, and I think it's helped. I really do. I really do think it's helped. Um, you have some time. You can, if you're working outside. I think if you get in the house within a couple of hours and scrub it, you can prevent the reaction. I think when it soaks in, that can help. Of course, basics before you even get to that point. Wear uh, gloves. In my video, I wore rubber or nitrile gloves so that mainly so I can throw it away afterwards. But with those gloves, you can pick up the poison ivy. If you have to touch it, you can touch it, and then you can just pull the gloves inside out, throw them away. If you use your leather gloves, that oil can stay on those gloves for years, from what I understand. It can stay on gloves. It can stay on uh, tools for years. So if you have a machete that you cut the vines with, cut the leaves with, that machete or blade could have the poison ivy oil on it for years. You put that machete away in the drawer, touches other tools, or you pull it out and you kind of rub the edge of the machete, you can get poison ivy from that. It's like, again, it's like grease. It doesn't really go away. So that's one thing to remember. And the other thing to remember, I'm going to show you some pictures here in a moment so you really know what we're talking about. There are ways to get rid of it that are better than other ways. Some ways are better than other ways. What I have found, and it's weird. Again, I hate poison ivy, but I love the satisfaction of killing it. In fact, I just killed some the other day. We've got there's a grape arbor that has these beautiful grapevines on it, and right up the middle is what we thought was a tree growing up. It's actually a poison ivy vine, and those vines can get 3-4 inches in diameter. So here's this vine growing up, leaves all over it, and turns out those leaves were poison ivy leaves. So I cut with a tree saw. My technique is to cut the vine. What I like to do is I like to cut a gap in the vine. If it's a real fat vine, I will cut, close to the ground, as close to the ground as I can get. And then I'll cut an inch or 2 or 3 above that. So I can actually take a chunk of the vine away so that, not that it'll connect again, but anyway, I just feel good doing that. Look at me itching. And then you see these little vines that are going up sometimes. They have little hairs on them. The big vines are actually covered in hairs, so it's easy to tell what they are. The smaller vines have little hairs that are almost like tentacles sticking to the tree, but they can be confused with other vines too. So I usually count on looking at the leaves. But I take those little vines, I take a blade, and I just cut the vine again close to the ground. And within a day, you see all those leaves starting to wilt, and that's what I love to see, that beautiful sight of wilting leaves, because you've choked off the food supply. So let me show you a few pictures here about what I'm talking about, so that you know what poison ivy looks like if you're not too familiar with it. First of all, you've heard this saying, "Leaves of 3, let it be." I think that's how it goes, and that's a great analogy, because you'll see a lot of times leaves that look like poison ivy, but there's 5 there, and you're like, okay, that's not it. There's 5 leaves. Look for 3, and you'll see. Look for 3, and you'll see. So there they are. That is very typical. Very typical of what you'll see. And they are kind of jagged on the edge. These, you notice, are green. A lot of times people think that poison ivy leaves are reddish. Well, they are when they're young. As they get older, they get greener and darker, and actually quite pretty. But there's typical poison ivy leaves that you would see. Here's another picture. There's some very young ones, and you can see that they are reddish tint. And again, there are 3. Normally, what you can look for, let me go back a picture. I wish I had a pointer on here, but generally there's like 1 leaf connected to the stem in the middle, and then 2 leaves on each side shooting out. So if you kind of look at this, you'll see at, let's say at 4 o'clock, there's a leaf. And then the other 2 are at like 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock, and those are the shoots coming off. So you see that. You see the young ones that are kind of reddish tint, kind of jagged edges. Here is a whole grouping. You see some small ones there that are reddish, and then the other ones that are getting more greenish. And then as they mature, they get even greener yet. And there's a real telltale, real great demonstration growing up the tree. And you see a mixture of small leaves and larger leaves. And then you'll also see similar leaves like this on the ground. That video that I shot, you'll see lots of ground cover of the leaves. And I had a theory for that as to why the leaves were like that all over the ground. Why you find them, they tend to thrive, it seems to be, in shady areas, under trees, along fence lines. So I had a theory as to why that is, and I don't know if it's correct or not, but it makes darn good sense to me. My theory is that birds eat the berries from poison ivy. If poison ivy is left alone, it will go to seed, and it has these little. They look like, well, when they dry up some, they look like kernels of pepper, whole pepper. So my theory is that birds eat these poison ivy seeds, and then they sit on a fence, or they sit up in a tree, and they go through their bodies. They poop them out, is what I'm trying to say. I think they poop out the seeds, and that's how they move from place to place. And I think it makes sense why you'd find them under trees and along fence lines, because that's where the birds perch and do their business. So that's my theory there. And of course, it likes to grow along something, viney something, but how would it know? I guess it would die out. Like if you were crazy and you planted some poison ivy out in the middle of a field, I guess it's not going to grow because it can't grow on anything. I've seen it though. I have seen it out in fields, like along other bushes and whatnot. So that's my thought there. So the leaves of 3, let it be. So cutting it is the best solution that I've seen. When you can't cut it, like when you have a large grouping of it on the ground, man, I don't know what to do with that other than spray it with some kind of herbicide. And they make herbicides for ivy specifically, because it's very hard to kill. If you use a Roundup for that, whether you think Roundup is terrible to use or not, I think there's a place for using some kind of herbicide, whether it be Roundup or whether it be a homemade mixture of vinegar and Epsom salt and dishwasher detergent, like Dawn, for instance. The homemade versions work well for weeds. I don't know how they work for ivy, but I've made the homemade herbicide out of. You can look it up on the internet, but again, it is white vinegar, and I don't know what the formula is. White vinegar and Epsom salt to mix it in with, and then the a few drops of dishwashing detergent. And what that does is the dishwashing detergent is an emulsifier. And if you spray, you think about it, if you spray a leaf, a lot of times you'll notice the water beads up on the leaf. Well, by adding the dish soap, it's an emulsifier, and it makes the water stick to the leaves, and it coats them. So those are the ingredients, but I don't know the formula. So you can look that up and try it. I've done it. It does work on weeds. I don't think I've tried it on poison ivy. But anyway, so when you see the whole grouping of it on the ground, I think an herbicide may be your best bet, because there aren't many other things you can do. It's hard to get down there unless you can get a shovel and dig it up and actually kind of turn the soil and expose the roots. I mean, that could work, but what I had was a giant area. And what I did, and I can't recommend this, but what I've done is I use the bush hog or the finish mower on the back of the tractor. It's far away from me. I back into it and I just cut it down. Basically, you got to be careful because you could spray the oil in the air. That could be dangerous, but that's how I did it. And I think if you're safe with it, you might be okay to do that. But you can't hold me responsible for that, because I'm saying don't do that. But so that's one way. And then what I found is, personally, I found that by doing that, by killing the leaves, by cutting them, spraying them, it chokes out the roots. What I found when you cut the vine on the tree, some people say it grows back from the roots. I've not experienced that. I cut the vines, and when you cut the vines, you cut the nutrition from the leaves to the roots, and it dies off. You may have to do it a few times. There may be some new growth, but if you keep up on it, keep an eye on that area. If you see any new growth at all, you cut those vines down and the roots will die off. They need that nutrition from the leaves. So you can do that. That's how I say to eradicate it, is keep cutting it. Similar with bamboo. I had a terrible experience with bamboo. As much as I love the look of bamboo, what I had was extremely invasive. And my concern was it was growing onto the neighbor's property. I had planted it near the end of our property. It was growing onto the neighbor's property, and I thought, I can't have that. And I would also see shoots growing up 20 feet from where I planted it, and these were big shoots coming up. And I just imagined my whole yard had these rhizome roots growing through it. And that was also near my shed, my tractor shed. Do you remember that? Before it had the concrete floor, it had a dirt floor. The bamboo found its way under the shed It was growing up like under my lawnmower, up under the trash can. It was in the shed, and I got freaked out thinking this is going to get out of control. Uh, so what I did was I just cut it all down. First, I tried lots of other things, herbicides and whatnot. Nothing worked. So I just cut it all down. And this is what I learned either listening on the radio or web. Cut it all down. And then whenever I saw new growth coming up, I cut it again. Now the bamboo took like 4 seasons to finally kill. And what I mean by 4 seasons are 4 summers, not summer, winter, fall. 4 summers at least. I would cut it all down. All through that summer, I'd see new growth start to pop up because it was trying to, the roots were still active, pop up. I'd cut it again immediately if I saw it, because of course bamboo can grow a couple inches in a day. You'd see it, cut it off, and then as summer went on, it would stop. Next summer, it would come up again, but not as thick. It'd be thinner. And I learned very much, what it looked like, because as it came up thinner, it looked more grassy, which it is a grass. And I would cut it all the way down to the ground. It was these thin, wispy pieces that would come up. Cut them off. Throughout the summer, you'd see more, and sometimes they'd be like in a shrub or something. It'd be like this 4-foot piece. Like, oh, cut it down. Next summer, same thing. Kept cutting. Again, took 4 seasons, 4 summers, maybe 5. It has not. There's been no indication of it whatsoever. Now it's been, gosh, a decade almost, maybe. Maybe not that long, but it's been, yeah, I think it probably has been. Anyway, it's gone. I did it. I got it. And that's the trick, is to keep killing it. I believe poison ivy is the same way. If you kill it, if you see stuff coming up, you just keep cutting it and you'll eventually choke it out. Hey, welcome, J Sizzle G Man. You missed the beginning. All right, we'll start over. We'll do that for you. Welcome back, and welcome to the channel. Okay, can't do that. Anyway, welcome. Ross has asparagus growing on the side of the road. You say that, but that's kind of what the bamboo looked like. And I know we're talking about poison ivy, but wild asparagus, Ross, is really good. I have a friend who harvests wild asparagus from the side of the road. He knows like certain areas in the town where it grows, and he goes and he cuts it. So nothing wrong with wild asparagus. Go and get it. Well, I want to get back to poison ivy, though. We were talking about how to eradicate it by cutting the vine. Of course, if it's ground cover, you got to spray it. Don't mow it. I did. Don't mow it because you can get the oil on you. It helps. The only reason I did it was because I had the attachment on the back of the tractor, which was far away. I wouldn't use a lawn tractor or a zero turn or, heaven forbid, a push mower. None of that stuff. I used a bush hog on the back of the tractor and backed into it. Creepy. But anyway, don't do that. And I think the thing that you have to remember is do not ever burn poison ivy. Of course, you don't want to burn it where it stands, but even if you can kill it, and then I will sometimes pull the vines away from the trees. Mostly I'll let them just dry up and die and fall off. But there have been times when I did have several of these decent sized vines, maybe 1-inch, 2-inch vines, and I have cut them and pulled them off the trees, and you get these big long pieces. But the thing is, don't burn it. Don't burn the leaves. Don't burn the vine. The oil is in that vine. If you burn that, it will get into the smoke particles. The oil particles will get into the smoke. You can inhale it. You can get poison ivy in your lungs, in your throat. I don't know anybody that's had that happen, but it sounds horrible, and I would imagine it could be deadly. I would imagine. So never burn any part of poison ivy. What I do is just let it rot. The leaves will die. They'll fall to the ground. They'll decompose quickly. So that's what I do. If I do happen to pull the vines away, if I can get them off the tree, I'll pull them away and I'll just throw them in a pile, either in a corner somewhere, and just let them rot away. So that's important. And again, remember that it can stay on your clothing or your tools for years. So take. I used paper towels and wipe the tools off. You can use I don't know if you want to use a paint thinner or something on the cloth. Of course, wearing rubber or nitrile gloves. Wipe off your tools. Maybe alcohol is a good thing. I don't know, but wipe them off and see what that does for you. I think WD-40 would even work for that. I don't know, but WD-40 is kind of a good cleaner. I think. So what else? Let me look at some comments here. See if I missed any questions or anything. Yeah, there you go, Joe. I just mentioned this before I even saw your comment was before I said it, but be very careful if you burn the leaves. Yeah, I say just don't burn them. Just don't burn them. Lori was talking about the homemade stuff. The herbicide doesn't work on poison ivy in her experience. And again, I never tried it. So I know these chemicals are controversial, but sometimes they work. And sometimes I think it might be the best thing to use. Yep. So Keegan Timber here, you've got a fair amount of poison ivy grows up the trees. Even though you cut it at the base, it seems to stay alive under the ground. Following year, I have to cut some baby vines again. Yeah, that can be the case. And again, cut those baby vines immediately when you see those. But eventually, it should choke out that root system. That's my uneducated view. Maybe you've had a different experience. But all right, so a lot of comments here. I'm going to just go back a moment. A lot of people saying don't burn it. Yeah, so that's great. You were saying that before I did. Yep. Okay, so and oh, here's a good point, Rex. The goats will eat it. I've heard that. I've had goats. I don't recall seeing them eat it, but we all know goats will eat anything. Which brings me to another great point that I mentioned in the video about animals. You want to be careful if your dogs are out running around. If you have a wooded area or where there's poison ivy, your dogs could be rubbing up against it. They could be rolling in it. You just never know. So watch your pets. If you see your dogs rolling in it, you've got to make sure you don't pet the dog, that you can scrub the dogs as well, give them a bath. What a mess that could be. And the other thing is that, again, uneducated guess, I believe that in certain areas that poison ivy oil can be on the surface of water. And if your pets are swimming in water and they come up out of the water, they could be coated in oil. Or if you happen to go into the water, I think you have to be careful of that. I just say you have to be extra vigilant and really careful anytime there's any poison ivy around whatsoever. You just have to assume that this stuff can jump on you and get you. But seriously, it just if you react to it, you've got to be extra careful. Some people react to it terribly. I'll tell you a story about Anne. When I first met her, she was weed whacking at her house. She had just gotten a new house, and there was like a hill on the side, and it had like English ivy all around. So she decided to weed whack this hill. Little did she know, I didn't know at the time either, that hill was actually covered with poison ivy. She weed whacked with shorts on the side of this hill. You've never seen something so horrible. I mean, she reacted. She's a fair-skinned girl, and she reacted horribly. I mean, her legs from the knees down, her shins, her calves were just blisters. I'm surprised she even healed, and she healed fine, but I just thought she was going to be all scarred up. It was that bad. What a horrible time that was. Yeah. So she reacts to it horribly. She has some right now, as a matter of fact. Where'd she get it? We don't know. Must have touched it or rubbed up against it somewhere, but she has a little patch of it on her arm right now. So you have to be really careful if you react to it like that. Here's another thing I learned. Thank you, Chris. If you guys want to click on this link here that Chris shared, good info about poison ivy from the CDC. That would definitely be well studied there. So if you go into the live chat, you can click on that link. Good stuff. What I have found, let's talk about how to treat poison ivy. I've heard of putting alcohol on the blisters to help dry them up. I don't know that you can really do anything other than just wait it out. You want to try and treat the symptoms, the itching, but I don't think there's a whole lot you can do to speed up recovery. I think some people even get a shot when they have an issue, a really big issue. But then the only thing you can do is really treat the symptoms, which is the itching. Now, here's something that, again, I'm going to say, don't do this because I think you could damage your skin. But what works for the itch, and I'm talking about, say, between your fingers specifically, what I've seen is that if you run the affected area on your tap water under hot water, and you run the water as hot as you can stand it without burning your skin, there is something that happens. I think it just flares up your histamines maybe in your body. But the hot water, it's bizarre. Like it's one of those things that hurts so good it burns, but then when you take your hand out of the water, it's relief. There's a lot of relief there. I can't tell you to do that because you could burn your skin and you could damage your skin doing that. So just be careful. But what I do know is that running hot water over it, and I don't do something like a tea kettle. My gosh, that would be awful. Yeah, there you go, Kent. A shot of cortisone people would have to get, or cortisone cream might help dry that up too. But the hot water trick, I can tell you that it works, but I can also tell you, don't listen to me and don't do it. Don't do it. So that's what I'm thinking there. Let's do a sticker giveaway. Wouldn't that be a good thing to do right about now? Because we're running out of time. Let me go to the sticker giveaway here. What I have to do though is go to this, because we always have to start with music. Sticker giveaway. Going to give away the orange sticker, the black and white sticker, and the limited edition 25,000 subscriber foil sticker. Focused. There we go. Limited edition 25,000 subscriber celebratory sticker. Now, I know you may have won these before. You may not have won this. You may have won this and not these. I don't know. I can't keep track anymore. So I'm going to let you self-govern. Okay? If you feel that you would like to win these, and perhaps you feel that you've won them before, or you want to give somebody else the chance, then don't enter. But if you do want to enter and you want to win these, then I say go for it. We'll make some rules later. But since I'm getting new stickers, it's hard to say if you won these but didn't win this. So I don't know. You self-regulate. You self-govern. If you want to enter, you can enter. And here's how it works if you're a new subscriber. I'm going to put a word on the screen, and you're going to type the word in the live chat. This is for live viewing only. Type the word in the live chat, and then we will randomly pick a winner on the spot and see who wins. But you have to enter the word exactly as I share it. Uppercase or lowercase doesn't matter, but no spaces, and we'll share that. So here's the word, and you have to use the hashtag too. This separates it from other words that we've done. But enter the word hashtag invasive. I know it's a big word, 3 syllables. Invasive, yes. But hashtag invasive if you want to win these stickers tonight. Doesn't matter where you live. I'll get them to you. I'll send them to you. So enter those for me. Hashtag invasive. And we usually get a good little handful of viewers. There's a few less people on tonight. I think it's because the weather's so nice. Again, I was traveling today. I wasn't even sure I'd make it, but I'm here. But we will we'll draw this, and then we'll see who wins. I hope that you enjoyed talking about poison ivy tonight. I didn't talk about the other poison ivies, again, the sumac, oak. I don't know anything about those. All right, but let's hit this draw button here in a moment. We'll let the music play out. How about that? And then we'll hit the draw button. I'll get the mouse here ready. Here we go. Is that the end? It is. Draw. Let's see who our winner is. Tonight of the sticker giveaway, the winner is John Link. Hey, John Link, congratulations to you, my friend. You are the winner of the sticker giveaway tonight. Appreciate that. John, do me a favor and send me an email right here at contactmcgtv@gmail.com. I know it's a long, confusing email, but just sound it out. contactmcgtv@gmail.com. Send me your name if that's not your name. But anyway, send me your name and your postal mailing address, and I will get these in the mail to you. And thank you. Thank you for participating, for playing, for watching. Congratulations. John Link, who's obviously watching from Facebook, because you see that little Facebook logo. You can watch from Facebook or YouTube, and that's how it works. Oh, I lost myself there, didn't I? I killed myself and I killed my screen there instead of the other one. So there was a little quiet moment without me, wasn't there? Sorry for that. Anyway, thank you, Gary, for you sat out the sticker giveaway. I guess because you won before, or you're just a good person saying I want to give somebody else a chance to win. That's because Gary won 3 mugs. Funny story there that he won the mug giveaway. This mug right here, one of these mugs. He won one of these, which you can buy at Shop MCG TV. No, shopmcg.com. That's the website. Or if you want any of this kind of fun stuff, shopmcg.com. Anyway, we did a mug giveaway. Gary won a mug, and the company, for some reason, they kept sending him mugs. They sent him 3 different mugs. What can you do? Gary got 3 mugs. Good for you. And there was just no point in sending them back. What are they going to do with them? Yeah. So, yeah, thank you too, Ross, for pointing out lots of new names. So hello to all the new people. And that is fun. Yes, I do say that's fun a lot. I think that's what I say instead of like when I don't have anything to say, instead of I just say that's fun. Isn't that fun? And there's Keith at work, but got on the live chat. Good to see you. Get back to work, Keith. Didn't see you here. And I think Daniel's here, who was in the hospital last week. So, Daniel, I hope you're doing well. We were talking about injuries last week, which, by the way, I'm still wearing the brace. I have a few weeks. I think I go to I have to get an x-ray, I think, in 3 more weeks. And then maybe this will come off, and then I may have to do a little physical therapy. I'll tell you, this hurts more now than it did in the days following. And I think that's because of not moving it. Now, when I take this off and I do move it, there's limited range of motion and it hurts. So I'm going to have to work on getting that range of motion back once I take this thing off permanently. But it's all right. It's healing. You can see I've got some gaffer's tape on there because it had like a little sharp edge in the stitching. So just stuck some gaffer's tape on there. It looks real classy like, right? You bet. Anyway, and there's Margaret asking me how my wrist is feeling. Thank you for pointing that out. So anyway, I'm getting used to it. It only hurts when I really move it without this on here. It was hurting almost constantly in the days following tripping and falling, and it hurt to like brush my teeth and everything because I tried to brush my teeth with my left hand, but I looked really stupid. I mean, I'm so uncoordinated with my left hand. Still hard to use the laptop or the computer and all that, but that's neither here nor there. But look at this great announcement from David Martin. Got here late, but great news first. Grandchild was born Friday morning, 2:10 a.m. Thrilled and everyone's doing well. Congratulations, David, on first grandchild. That's exciting. I hope they're nearby. We went to see three of our grandkids this weekend. They're in Boston, so sure wish we could see them more often, but it's great to be able to see them when we do. Congratulations to you. That's very exciting news, and you can often be a better grandparent than you were a parent. We learn it's like a second try. All the mistakes you think you made, you're like, I could do better next time. Well, now's your chance. So, well, that is very good news. All right. Well, here we are, another Monday night. Make sure you come back next week for our interview with Lee Klonscher, and that should be very exciting to see. And yes, that'll be fun, don't you think? But anyway, make sure you come back next week. It's Monday, so we're starting out the week together. Appreciate it. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you stay healthy and happy. I hope you have joy in your life. Joyful people. I've learned that joyful people are confident people. Sometimes you see people that are not too joyful, and I think it's because maybe they're a little self-conscious. Anyway, I hope you find joy in your life, and you have a good week. Thanks for watching, and I really look forward to seeing you next time.